Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and today we're doing something just a little bit different. Nubia is a Chinese smartphone company that sent me this, the Red Magic 7, which is one of the most popular yearly gaming phones, along with like the Black Shark and Asus ROG phone. Or almost forgot the Lenovo Legion, that's another good example. So today we're gonna be unboxing it, and then we'll also do some kind of impressions slash a bit of a review on it. Nothing too crazy or in depth, but I love these kinds of phones. The hardware they always have is just so insane. And while they're definitely not for everyone, I think for a certain type of user, they're actually a pretty good buy. So we'll get to that, timestamps in the description, but first, the unboxing, as Cola does something back there. Okay, let's open this up. Big disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by Nubia. They did send me the phone free of charge, but I'm not sponsored here, so just want to be transparent with you guys, and let's go ahead and get started. Right off the bat here, I absolutely love this box. It has this super cool art style to it. It's really unique in this world of generally very boring, plain black or white boxes, so I just enjoy this. It's also a normal phone box, whereas the last few years they've given me this much shorter but wider box, kind of like a square. That was always a bit odd to me, so standard this year. Of course, first things first, take off the plastic. I just tear it off. Then we just gently lift the top off the box. Immediately the paperwork's on the top, and then the phone. It's behind some plastic at the moment, but wow, that's a lot of colors. We will quickly check out what's in this little box. There's a SIM tool, a little pamphlet, and then a phone case actually. I really appreciate it when manufacturers do this for more obscure phones because it is harder to find cases for these phones. People do make them, but to have one in the box, it's nice. But let's look at the Red Magic. Here it is, absolutely gorgeous. This design is quite a bit different from what they've given me in the past. The general style, with all the lines and everything, they've done that before, but the colors, maybe they've done it before, but not in the ones they've sent me. I really like it. We take off the plastic and we can see it in all of its shiny glory. It is extremely reflective, it's glossy. So I'll boot this up, and while that's happening, we'll go over to the box, take off the cover, and we've got the USB-C charging brick and USB-C charging cord. And that's right, a charging brick, something that Apple no longer includes. Yes, it's ridiculous, but the phone's already booted up and ready to get setting up. So this was about as straightforward as unboxing to get. You've got the phone, you've got the case, and then the charging cord and brick. Awesome. So some initial thoughts here. Again, the design, I love it. It is gorgeous. There's still a headphone jack, which is fantastic. You've got these touch bumpers on the side. They've had this for a few years now, and they're great. This phone is big. It is too big for my hands. I believe it is a 6.8-inch display, and it's very tall, but when you have it turned horizontally, it makes a lot of sense, especially for gaming. The display is 165 Hz. I'm excited to see that. That's insane. My iPhone is 120 Hz, and it's awesome. From previous phones, for whatever reason, the design feels more refined to me. The phone doesn't feel as chunky or clunky or awkward. It's just a bit better. There's also no hollow feeling to it. This is a little hard to describe, but on the previous phones, if you kind of just knocked on the phone would kind of just vibrate, and I believe that was due to the cooling system inside of it. This phone doesn't do that. It feels a lot more in one piece. I like that. And actually, just setting up the phone, I was noticing the haptics have really improved. Of course, it just vibrates slightly when you tap on the keyboard. That used to be one of my biggest complaints, but here, I don't know what they did, but it's definitely better. So I go ahead and set things up pretty straightforward. If you've ever set up an Android before, it's very similar to all of that. I do add my fingerprint with the sensor that is built in under the display, and we're in. So, totally normal. Home screen and everything. And yeah, the anime girl on the screen, I'm not a fan of that. My grandparents, I have grandparents who watch like every single video I make. I feel like they're not going to be super approving of that one. It's a it's a unique choice, to be sure. They're very clear in who they're marketing this to. So I guess I can respect that, but we will be changing the wallpaper. Sorry, fellow anime fans. I've watched Naruto. I mean, I was 14, but I still watched it, so I count as an anime fan, right? But anyways, now we come to the review and impression segment of talking about the Red Magic 7. So let's change that wallpaper and get right into this. So right off the bat here, I will say with the new update, the anime girl is no longer the default wallpaper. It's still under the options for wallpapers, so it is there for anyone who wants it. And in fact, the most recent update really improved quite a few things. When the phone was sent to me, it was in more of a prototype state, but at this point, I was quite happy to see a lot of the English translations that were a little bit funny were fixed, along with a lot of just minor little nice polish ups, so I just wanted to mention that. Okay, first thing we're going to do is switch to 165 Hz because it's at 90 by default. This is for battery life, and after that, oh man, this phone is smooth, just buttery smooth. It's not going to be obvious on camera how much smoother it actually is, but if you were to use it in person, you would definitely see the difference. It's really impressive, and this is why you would want to buy this phone if you're into gaming. And if you want to save battery life when you don't need 165 Hz, because you don't need it, it is overkill, you can keep keep all that separate with the gaming mode. That's right, there's a gaming mode. This little slider on the side, you slide that over, we get into what I like to call Epic Gamer Mode, where it shows all of your games, you can scroll through them, and it gives you a bit more customizability over how the power is managed, things like cooling temperatures and stuff like that. It's really cool. The Red Magic 7 will cost you right around $600, and the hardware you get here is absolutely mind-blowing for that price. And that's the nice thing about going with a Chinese smartphone like this. You get really good value, but there are sacrifices that come with that, and the main one is the software. The software generally is lackluster. There's not the sense of polish and finish that you would get with, say, a Samsung device or, I don't know, iPhone. One nice thing about this Red Magic OS is, besides the Epic Gamer Mode, which is genuinely awesome, the Android skin here is fairly bare bones. It's definitely not stock, but there's very little bloat. Not a lot to drag down the experience. Like, there's just 2 pages here. There's no app drawer for whatever reason, but the 2 pages here, all of Google's apps, and that's it. The only really noteworthy apps from Red Magic themselves are pretty basic stuff like Nubia, transfer, user manual, extern device, which I believe is made to help you work with their accessories if you purchase those, and then this little owl at the bottom here. I was a little confused what this was supposed to be at first. This is actually a browser, but it has a lot of really weird quirks to it. It opens with a news page, which is cool. There's a lot of focus on like learning, like there's a Wikipedia search, a translation tool, but it is a browser. You can go ahead and open your tabs and do whatever like you would on a regular browser, and it's fine. It's just a little bit strange. It also has ads. I'm not a fan of that. That is really not cool. Now, the one good thing is, because the Play Store is on here, you can download any number of browsers, and you already have Chrome installed, so you don't have to use this. But the fact that there's ads here, I mean, come on. I understand that this phone is relatively cheap and that it's a pretty good deal. Actually, as this ad's on, I'm now noticing that it shows that the title of the browser there, Next Word Learner's Browser. Yeah, I don't really understand that. Now, I will say I haven't noticed the ads anywhere else on the phone, just in that browser, and only that once. Ads on any app that's pre-installed for me is a big no-no, but it is worth mentioning that it's not like a frequent thing like some phones might have. And yeah, there's just little oddities. But going back to the hardware, that's what's really important on this phone. All the software stuff, that can all be customized to your liking, right? Because it is fairly stock, it's not too limited, and while there is, you know, quite a few individual settings that are specific to Red Magic, if you go to settings, most of this is just Android. It's just Android, so you can do what you want. I also appreciate that there isn't duplicates of every single app, like on a Samsung, for example. 165 Hz, that is the big thing here, and it also recognizes touch at 720 Hz. So basically, when it comes to response times in gaming or whatever, you can't get much better than this. The display is 6.8 inches, it has a resolution of 1080 by 2400, so it is only 1080p, which might not sound great, but considering it is so big, that's a 387 pixels per inch pixel density, and so while this isn't like a Samsung level screen, it's good enough, and the refresh rate definitely makes up for it. Battery life on here seems to be great so far for me, but mind you, if you were actually gaming on this phone like all day, or at least a lot of hours in the day at 165 Hz, the battery size is only 4500 milliamp hours, which is normally pretty darn good, but with hardware this powerful, you might need to end up charging it. However, the charger included in the box is very fast. There is no wireless charging, but fast charging it took maybe half an hour to charge it to like 100%. The cooling system, as always with these phones, is absurd, and I'm impressed the phone isn't too chunky. I think it's helped because it's so big, the weight is evenly distributed, and so it doesn't feel as heavy as maybe it actually is. And this is without a doubt the best feeling phone that Red Magic has given me. Again, there's no hollow feeling. I hated that, so the fact that that's gone is really nice. And the specs here are insane. We've got the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, so you know, top of the line 2022 stuff. We're running Android 12. There's no SD card slot, but you do have 128, 256, or 512 gigabytes of storage. That's plenty, whichever one you choose. For RAM, you can have from 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty solid, to 18. Yeah, you can have 18 gigs of RAM for some reason. Talk about overkill, and I love it. You might as well, right? The one they sent me is definitely one of the better models. It has 256 gigs of storage and 16 gigs of RAM. All in all, this is a very impressive device from the hardware aspect. That's what you would expect. The camera is fine. Now on paper, it looks absurd. It has 64 megapixels. It is a triple setup on the back here, but it is a bit deceptive. They've done this before. I was kind of hoping that they would clean that up a little bit, but they've got the big 64 megapixel camera, which is of course the one that they market, and that's the regular wide lens. But then they also have an 8 megapixel ultra wide, which is a pretty low count, and a 2 megapixel macro camera, which just seems like an odd choice to me. I'd rather a regular telephoto lens there. And the 64 megapixels, sure, it's a big number, and the photo resolutions are absolutely ridiculous, but the actual photos themselves are honestly not very good. They're quite disappointing. I think maybe like the Google Pixel camera APK might help, considering on paper the camera shouldn't be too bad, but yeah, no, these really didn't turn out that well. You're not buying this phone for the camera, but still, I think some improved software magic would really help. And yes, there is a watermark by default, but you can turn that off. It can also film a video in up to 8K, which is something that it's been able to do for a couple of years now, and I'm happy to say that it keeps seeming to improve. Every time I try 8K on here, it seems to get a little easier. Before, it was very specific conditions, like the lighting had to be very bright, but now the 8K, there are no conditions. It just works. Does the video actually look that good? Not really, but it is still 8K, and that is impressive. The selfie camera is 8 megapixels, and like a lot of Androids, the beauty mode is on by default. There's a slider for it. This is a 3, this is a 10. I love doing this because you always look like a melted Barbie, or you've had too much plastic surgery, one or the other. I think this kind of phone has its place, obviously for people who are into gaming phones, but also power users. And I say power user, that can apply to a lot of different people, but people who really know their way around the Android operating system and know how to make a phone kind of fit their own liking. If you're willing to deal with a couple quirks here and there, and all you really want is a phone that gives you as much power as possible, I don't recommend buying this phone per se, but if you know what you're doing, you don't need my recommendation, and at around under $600, there's no question that this phone is great value. And so with that, I think I'm right about done here. Thank you so much for watching. Link to the Nubia Red Magic 7 will be in the description if you're curious, want to check it out. Again, I'm not sponsored, they sent it to me, so I said sure, I'd pop your link in the description, but I don't make any money if you decide to buy one. Cola is honking a horn in the background. Well, I mean her little squeaker things. I think she's trying to say I'm a clown. There we go, you can do the outro with me. What do you think of all those colors? She doesn't seem that impressed, so there you go, there's the dog's review of it. But I was fairly impressed, always fun to look at these just so overpowered phones for such a good price. But yeah, I'm done here, so thank you so much for watching. If you found this video interesting or helpful, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me on social medias at 91_tech if you'd like to for some reason. And we do have a Discord group, link in the description. Thanks again for watching. I'm Josh from 91tech. This is Cola, and we will see you all next time. Bye. She does not like this.